All right, welcome back. Another week, another costume. So this week we've got something a little different than I normally do. So we're making a Cats-inspired Unitard. The customer wanted to have a black Unitard with a little bit of white and gray and then some pink details. So as you can see, we're going to be doing a white and gray kind of belly to invoke a cat, and then have some little pink beading details that kind of give a pink calico striped look to have that cat kind of come together in this costume. I'm going to show you my step-by-step process of how I put all this together. So we're going to start here at the pattern table, make a pattern, cut it out, do a little bit of sewing, and then do airbrush for the belly part. And then we'll do some beading on the sleeves and down the front a little bit, and then we will sew up the rest of the costume. I like to do the beading on the sleeves flat because it makes it easier than having it sewn up. So that's why I do that, and that's always a tip that I suggest, is that if you have any beading, do the beading first, and then you can sew up the sides and then finish the beading. So that is the plan of attack today. So we'll start at the pattern table, and then whenever I have any little comments I want to make, I'll stop and tell you what I'm doing. If there's something that you're wondering, what is he doing here? Please leave it in the comments below, and I will try to answer it for you. All right, we're at the pattern table, which is a very, very good place to start. So first I have to decide on sizing. So I have one of two ways that I can go. I can do a full-on custom size pattern, or I can use one of my stock standard sizing patterns and then go off of that. Now I deal with a lot of competitive figure skaters, so a lot of times they're within the size of my standard sizing patterns. So that is what this skater is. So what I will do is I'm going to trace it out, and then I can draw on any style lines and any cutouts, and then get that pattern ready so that we can cut the fabric out. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we will go from there. All right. Pattern pieces are done now. So we've got the bodice pattern, front and back, and we've got the sleeves, and then we've got the neck strip. So with the bodice front back, what I'm going to do is this is all going to be black, except for this center piece here is going to be white, and then I will airbrush it in to give the gray and white cat belly. And then the lines, if you can see the lines on here, those are going to be where the pink beaded stripes are going to be. And so, all right, so now we're going to cut it out and then do a little bit of sewing, and then we can do the airbrush. All right. All right, now we're in my spray room. I will be spraying this 505 temporary adhesive to my lining, and then that way it will stick to the color that I am using. So this week it's gonna be black. So I will spray a light coating over this, and it will be able to just stick to the other Lycra piece. I love using this stuff. You can get it you can find it at a craft store, you can get it online. And then I like to spray in an area that I don't have other, fabric and crystals around, because the stuff gets sticky. So make sure you do it in an area that you don't care that, the walls will get sticky or the floor will get sticky. All right, so I'm going to spray a light coating on it, and then I will pick it up and take it and place it onto the fabric. This is also really good for if you're doing any kind of applique work, and also later on, you'll see when I add the white piece, I will spray it down. And that will make it, lay nice and flat on there with no air bubbles. All right, here we go. got everything cut out. Now it is time to sew everything together before we do the airbrush. So I'm going to do all the sewing that I need to do before then, and then we will stop and I will show you how I put on the white centerpiece that will be airbrushed on top of the black. So let's get to it. All right, here goes. All right, got everything pretty much sewn together, but I need to put on this white centerpiece that we're going to airbrush. So I've cut it out, and then I'll just use that 505 spray to spray it down. And then I'll just place it right here very carefully in the center of the front bodice, like that. And then I can then airbrush it. And this really will help having the 505 spray, because that will keep everything really flat and nice and clean, whereas if I was just placing it on here and zigzagging around, it could kind of wrinkle in places. So the 505 spray will really help it stay as like one solid piece for the airbrushing without getting any little wrinkles or jibble jabbles. All right, so I'm going to spray this on and then we can get to the airbrushing. All right. All right, before we do the airbrush, I'm just gonna zigzag down this white to the black so that it stays. All right, here we go. All right, now it's time to do the airbrush. So I've got my piece here that I'm going to be airbrushing the front of the bodice, and I just need to pin it down first. I use on this right here is a 1/2-inch foam board that I can pin into, which is really nice. And then I just put some paper over the top to just keep it clean. Since I'm just doing this part and I don't need to see where I'm spraying, like on a skirt or these mesh sleeves, it's fine to just have it on this and use something that I've already used. So, because I'm just going to be spraying right here. So I'm going to pin it down with a few pins, just get everything nice and flat, because if you have any kind of wrinkle in this, it's going to show the wrinkle. Now, some people do put their costume together and then they'll airbrush on a mannequin, which is totally fine. But I like to do it flat. It just kind of gives the cleanest look. If there's airbrushing that I need to do where it goes from like the bodice into the skirt, like a little line or something, then I will make the costume and then spray it. But if I don't need to do that, then I'll just spray like the skirt, the edge of the skirt. If it's fading in, I'll do it flat, or the sleeves or whatnot. And that just keeps it the cleanest, and you don't get any little marks or anything. So we just pin all this down, make sure everything is nice and flat. And I like to spray in this room because paint gets everywhere. So I have this room dedicated just to airbrushing, because you'll get just a fine layer of paint. So if you're doing it where you're working, you'll get paint all over your fabric, all over your cutting tables, all over crystals or whatnot. So I like to have it my own room so that it stays in this room. All right, so now next thing I'm going to do, y'all distracted me last time, but I'm going to put a mask on to cover myself. Hopefully you can still hear me. And I'm going to bring you up close and then show you how I'm going to do this airbrush, because I don't even quite know how I'm going to do it. So, all right. Now we've got that. Hopefully you can hear me with this mask on. I've already got my paint out into I like to put them into little bottles like this. So I have a gray and I have a black. So I'm going to start with the gray and then I'll go in with the black. I use, for those asking, I use the golden fluid acrylic. So this has a ton of colors. There's some other brands that people use that that work just as well, but this is what I've been using. So golden fluid acrylic. And then I've got my airbrush, which this is the Iwata Eclipse brush, and you just attach right here, you attach the little paint bottle there. So we're gonna start with the gray. Like I said, I'll just put it there, and then I like to get a paper towel and spray it on just to make sure that we're there. So we got paint coming out. Okay, so I've got kind of a dark gray, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to figure this out. So just watch along. So I kind of want to have pieces that are coming up like it's like little. So I just kind of do little motions like this to start with. Kind of go in and go over them. Just kind of like a little veining. And this will be covered with beading, so it doesn't have to look perfect, but just to give a little texture and whatnot. Just like a little kind of veining throughout. So this is the gray. Remember, we're going to come in here with black. Kind of make some squiggles. All right. Like I said, you can come in here and kind of go over this with crystals to give a little more definition or whatever's happening here. Okay, so now I'm just going to go kind of around the edge and just give just a little shadow of this here. Just to give a little fade. I think that looks pretty good. Now, since this is gray, you can see there's like little places here that's making the black a little grayer, but we're going to go in with the black, so we'll kind of cover that and just blend it all in. So we'll just make a couple little lines here as well, just to bring in a little detail. All right. I think that's good. Now we're going to switch to our black. So I'll just plug that in. And I just need to make sure the black is coming out. All right, now we got black. So now I'm just going to go in and do a little bit of the detail work with black, but not as much. Not coming as much as we did with the gray, just kind of around the edges. Yeah, like this. Let's get nice little details. I'll come back in. That looks pretty cool. Okay, now we're going to go in and we're just going to go around the edge to blend this all in. And we're also going to blend it with a little bit of crystal as well. So see, just doing that line took out that black, that gray that was on there. Just going to go around the edge to blend. That, and then we're going to go right here because this is where the pants are going to attach. Like that, and then we're just going to do a little fade out. I think that looks pretty good. So I think that gives a little of a cat belly, don't you think? All right. So I can go in still and do a little bit of, if I want a couple of darker lines now that we see where the fade is. All right. I think that looks pretty good. Like I said, this edging right here, well, there'll be the pink kind of stripes that come up, but then to blend this even better, we'll do some black crystals just to kind of blend it all in and make it nice and even and pretty. So I think that looks pretty good. All right, so now we're done. I'm gonna let it dry and then we can heat press it to make it stay, and then we can do a little bit of sewing, and then we can start beading, which is the best thing. All right. On to the next part. All right, we have got the airbrush dried and ready to go to the next step. So this is going to have raspberry beading. Let me hold this up for you actually. It's going to have raspberry beading that comes up on the side. And I need to draw those lines on. So I have them on my pattern piece that I can lay. I've cut it out so I can lay the pattern piece down onto the bodice. Now I like to use on most of the time when I do beading lines, I like to use a metallic Sharpie, especially when it's on something black, because you can see on it. If I use my regular pen that's in blue, it won't show up. So on black, you got to use something that's going to show up. So I found a metallic Sharpie will work. However, if you mess up, you're kind of effed. So what I'm going to do with this, what I like to do is, there's just a couple of lines. I'm going to dot where those lines start and end here, like that. And then I can do the other side. Can't see, so I need to, if you just have a little bit of black Sharpie, you can see through the paper. So I know where we're going to end on each of these lines. Just lay it down, and then I'm going to do a little dot where each of these lines end and start. Now I can take my ruler and just do a nice straight line. Now I'll probably dot this, because that way, if there are any mistakes, then I could cover it up with just putting like some black crystals or another crystal color to cover it. If I did a straight line, then you're kind of messed up. So I'm just going to just do some little dotted lines, and then I can follow those dotted lines across. But this is the easiest way that I found to show up on black. Now you can use chalk and stuff, but a lot of times with stretch fabric and the chalk is that you kind of have to pull it real hard, and when you do that, it kind of stretches the fabric. So I know this sounds a little crazy to do it this way, but this is how I do it, and I just hope that I don't mess up. And I have messed up before, and then you either have to start all over again, or figure out a way to cover it. So let's do all these lines. It's just pretty easy. I've already done this on the back bodice part, but just to show you on the front. So now, just hold it upside down. Now you can see the little dots there. And so I can just follow those with my pink beading. But I think that looks pretty cool with the little, the little texture of the different color grays and blacks coming in, don't you think? So, okay, so next step is I'm going to put an elastic around the edge and then do the neckband and sew up the edge of the sleeve, and then I can bead the sleeves. Bead the sleeves flat. Now I do need to add on, let me find this piece. Right, I do need to add on, there's these like little shoulder pieces that kind of stick off of the shoulder. And so I have my pattern. So I actually need to use that same pen, the metallic pen, and do a couple of dots so that I know where I need to place this. Actually place it that way. And then I have some beading lines here, so I need to draw those on as well, and then I can sew it up. All right, so we're going to do that, and then next time you hear from me, I'll probably be at home getting ready to start the beading for the sleeves. All right, I have packed up my beading necessities and have come home so that I can kind of chill out, watch TV, and get some work done. So as you can see, I've already pinned one of the sleeves to a board. I like to use a 1/2-inch foam board that you can pin nice and easy into. You can get these at any craft store. I go to the Blick craft store, which I have one down in my building, which is really nice. I can just run down there and get any of my airbrushing paints or crafts that I need for completing a costume. So I get these boards there, and I put a parchment paper underneath because this is mesh, and so the parchment paper, the glue will not adhere to the parchment paper. It just pulls right off. Whereas if you did it straight to the board, it's going to dry, and then you're going to be picking paper off where the glue is. So you do not want to do that. So I've pinned it down, and then I have a little bit of design drawn on here at the bottom, which will be done in fuchsia. So I have fuchsia in 48, 40, 30, and 20, and then I have some fuchsia shimmer as well that I will add in those same sizes. And then I also have jet hematite, which will scatter up the sleeve, and then I'll do fuchsia as well on this little shoulder detail. I like to use jet hematite over regular jet because I find that the regular jet does not give you sparkle. And if you're paying this money for it, you want it to sparkle. You want it to have a nice bling bling. So the jet hematite has this little coating over it that just gives it a little extra dazzle from far away. Jet hematite or just regular jet is good if you're wanting to maybe use it on a lighter color and you want something to pop off of it. That's fine. But if you want any sparkle, I find that the regular jet is just not giving. All right. So I'm gonna get started, and then I'll just speed it up so that you can see me going quick. I wish I was that quick in real life, but do it real quick, and then we can get the sleeves done, maybe a little bit of the front, and then we can get her sewn together and finish all the beading and send her off to the customer. This is also a good time to pause the video to say please like, subscribe, push the bell notification, and leave a comment below. That really helps me out and helps me build kind of a community here on the YouTube. So please do those things. I really appreciate it. I'm enjoying doing these videos, and I want to continue doing these videos, and I want to get pushed out to as many people as possible. So when you do those things, it helps me out. So if you're enjoying this video and you want to see more, just like, subscribe, push the bell. The bell lets you know when I get a new video out. And leave me a comment, and you can leave me a question if you like below, and I will answer it. So please do those things, and we can get on with the video. All right, let's go. I have finished the beading on the bodice before I need to sew it up. So this is what we've got, and I think it's turned out pretty cool, don't you think? So what I need to do next is sew on the back lycra bodice pieces, and then I can sew up the side seams. And then I need to put on the pants, because this is a unitard. So there will be some pink beading that goes down onto the leg of the unitard. So what I've done is I have my pattern piece with how the lines will go, and I poked a few little holes in them, and then I can just match it up to the pattern right here, and then just do those little dots through it. And then I can just follow that guide when I'm beading, so that it's the same in all front and back areas. So I've just used this little template front and back on the pants. And if there's a dot that needs to be brightened a little bit, you can just tap it, and then you have your guide. As you can see, this is 2 pieces actually, so just need to sew that together, and then I can sew it on. Now when I do these pants for this, since it would be easier, the beading kind of similar to the sleeves, I'll go ahead and sew up the sides here, and then I will sew it to the bodice here, but I won't sew up the crotch area. That way I can lay it flat and do the beading there on the leg instead of having to shove something through the leg. And then when I'm done with all that beading, which will be the finish of the costume, I can just sew it up real quick and then hem it, and then it will be ready to get out. All right, so I'm going to sew those things together, and then I will be finishing up the beading, and then we can get her out to the customer. So we're almost done, or maybe a little over halfway. All right, well, let's get it going. All right, we got her done. I think she turned out pretty cool. This is kind of different than what I normally do. I don't normally go super costumey with my costumes. I kind of do a more of a monochromatic, modern take normally on my costume. So this is a little more costumey than I normally go, but it was, it's fun to kind kind of step outside my box, just a tiptoe outside that box. But I still think that it's a modern take on like a Broadway Cats costume, right? But I think it's cool with the kind of cat belly, and then you've got the stripes. I want to call them calico stripes because like a calico cat, that would be correct, right? So the stripes that are coming up into the belly, I think that's real fun. And then we've got the little collar. It almost looks like a little cat, cat collar with a little charm. So I think I really am happy with how this turned out, and I really hope the customer loves it. We'll turn around to the back. We got the back where it kind of goes down into the V. Nice open back to give a little more of a modern touch. So I think this was real fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process of this one, because I know I enjoyed doing it. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and push that bell notification so that you know when I'm doing a new video. And also, I have other videos on this channel too that you can watch if you haven't seen those yet. So check those out. So if you've been enjoying this, do all those things. I got a new video coming out on Tuesday that I think will be fun. And then I've got my Friday video of another dress that I've created coming out next week. So continue to watch. I hope you do. And I hope that you're really enjoying this, because I know that I'm enjoying kind of documenting the process of how I do it, and also kind of learning all the editing and lighting, even though I couldn't get the lighting quite right in here, but gotta start somewhere, right? And having the microphone, so it's all fun kind of like figuring out how to do this whole YouTube thing. So I hope that it's enjoyable for you to watch, and I hope I'm doing a pretty good job. So please like, subscribe, comment, push the bell notification, check out my other videos, and check out my new videos coming out next week. And with that, I will say bye to you, and I will send her off to her new owner. All right, bye. Have a great day.